All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's a very fun, lighthearted, but also with very deep-seated insights that we're going to talk about today, especially of a very deep subject, food, which sometimes becomes a very sensitive subject too. So today I have with us Ajit Chak, who is and also not really my classmate, but from the same school in Lucknow. And Ajit is a journalist with the Daily World. So Ajit just recently wrote an article about food and the involvement of women and why it matters. So I was really, really impressed with the research. And I wanted to kind of, tease out the different parts of that article because it is an important issue. So thank you, Ajit, for accepting the invitation, and thanks to everyone else who's here. So we will definitely have time for asking questions, or we can make it very interactive as well. So
Okay.
thanks, Ajit.
Yeah. Thank you so much for actually starting this thing. You took the initiative. I'm glad we did it because would you like to start asking me
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. I want to first ask you to give us the title of the article you wrote.
The title of the article, actually, I've written so many articles after
Don't-
that I forgot the title. But it was, I think, Wise Women Cook and Others Don't.
Yeah, and some others don't. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
wise women cook and some others who don't. So tell me what sparked the interest in, especially the idea that wise women cook and some other wise women don't. So there's a lot in there, like it's a very loaded title.
It's a loaded title, yes, sir, because you see, I deliberately use the word wise women
Yeah.
because for a long time in the social media, in the print media, in movies, even Bollywood movies, I mean, there has been a trend to show women who cook, per se, who cook as women who are not very upmarket women. I mean, who are not urban professionals who actually doing it out of a form of obligation to a patriarch or something of that sort, and not out of their own this thing. So this image of a woman who's not very intelligent being a cook is
Mhm.
being created and projected all over the media. I don't know what the agenda behind it is. Maybe to a certain extent, people are trying to link it to women's emancipation, that an emancipated woman should not cook for anybody else. She should do a job and she should hire somebody to cook for her, or she should order food from outside, or just pick up a packet of pre cooked meal and give it to her kids or her husband or whatever. Here, there is a kind of resistance to the fact that if a woman is intelligent, she should not be knowing how to cook. She should have no life skills.
So let me ask you a follow-up quick question. So why did you think that it matters so much, whether women cook or not?
It matters because you see in my article, I've mentioned a lot of things which are over a large time period. I've talked about things that were advertised in the 1960s.
Mm.
In the 1960s, multinational corporations that were making baby food like infant formula, milk formula,
Yeah.
actually went to the extent of advertising that mother's milk is unhygienic. And if a baby breastfeeds, he will get some disease from the mother. And women fell for that ad, hook, line, and sinkers. And doctors actually pushed, please do not breastfeed your baby after 3 months, put him on to powder milk,
Yeah.
put him onto a bottle. And that happened in the 60s, it happened in the 70s, and you had a lot of immunocompromised babies becoming adults who are immunocompromised because their immune systems were weak. They didn't get the necessary nutrition and hormones and antibodies that you get from mother's milk.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
perfect. I totally agree with this. And before we get more serious, I do want to kind of make it make a point. It's serious and it's not serious either. Because if I had read this article of yours, say 23 years ago, which is when I landed in Canada, I would have fought with you. Said, no, why do I need to cook? Because when I came to Canada, I really did not know how to cook. And so the funny thing that happened that I ended up eating almost poison, not poison, but food that was spoiled, and I did not even know that it was spoiled. Luckily, another girl in my class, she was visiting my room, and I took out that food, and she said, "That looks rotten." I said, "What do you mean rotten?" She said, "No, it's got like a film on it." So I was so illiterate about food and cooking because I'd always been just offered cooked food living in India.
Yeah.
So now 23 years later, I'm always involved in cooking because I went through a whole cycle of depending on my husband to cook, and
Okay.
he only cooked for taste. So he didn't care what kind of oils he's using, how much oil he's using, what kind of spices he's putting into it, or sometimes he would order from outside, and I ended up with a lot of weight. I put on a lot of weight. I started having migraines, and I mean, you call it, I had the problem, and then
Hmm.
I really did get involved. So so now going back to our discussion that we were having about, I think there are two things that you really have emphasized in your article. One is the corporatization that you were talking about,
Yeah.
and the other part is the health. And I want to really tease out the role of women in being involved in cooking. So,
Yes, because you see, what is happening in India right now is something that has happened in Europe and America around 20 to 30 years back.
mhm,
The kitchens wound up and it was replaced by fast food, it was replaced by TV dinners, it was replaced by packaged food, ready to eat meals, and things like that, and ordering food from outside. Now, ordering food from outside is a big trend in India right now. We
mhm,
call cooking a life skill. You see, a life skill because you need it to keep yourself and your family healthy.
mhm,
You make fresh food every day. You don't use excessive masalas. But once you start ordering food, then again the taste factor which you mentioned about your husband, the taste factor comes in. When you order food from a restaurant, okay, it's very convenient. You don't want to cook, you come back from the office, you pick up the phone, you order food for the family. Fine. The restaurant puts cream in the food to give it flavor. Now
mhm,
that cream ends up where? It ends up inside your liver. It gives you fatty liver disease, it gives you diabetes, it gives you pancreatitis, it gives you a half a dozen things that you don't want
yeah,
your family to have. It
yeah,
gives you high blood pressure, things like this. And for a long time, there was this belief that people who drink alcohol are the ones who get liver disease. But today, doctors are finding out that it's not alcohol, it's food that is also damaging people's livers. I mean, there are women who are supposed to be sattvic, they do not even eat meat,
yeah,
they are vegetarians, they pray, they do fasting. These women are getting pre-cirrhotic livers or getting down with liver cirrhosis and they're dying. Or they have a very high incidence of diabetes now in India. And diabetes means that eventually there'll be a high incidence of kidney failures and kidney disease. Now, all these things are coming from the food you are eating.
yeah,
And this is where the woman in the house plays the role of the person who's the first and last line of defense against all these lifestyle related diseases. If she knows how to cook, she can create a barrier between disease and her family. And if she doesn't know how to cook, then she's opening the door open to all kinds of illnesses.
yeah,
Now, you will see that there's also this thing that I'm talking about is that there is a tendency to create an image that urban professional women should not cook because it's beneath their status. Now, when you link it to a woman's status,
Yeah.
in a status conscious society like India,
Mhm.
Indian society is very status conscious.
Yeah.
And when you link it to status, then the woman immediately freezes and says, I am not good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happens is if you're a North Indian Punjabi and you move to Delhi and you have a maid from Bengal coming in cooking, then your kids are eating Bengali food. They're not going to eat Punjabi food. The other thing is the maid is just doing a job. She's coming, she's
Mm.
going to cook. चाहे वो तेल ज्यादा डाले, तेल कम डाले, मसाले ज्यादा डाले, मसाले कम डाले. She's not bothered. वो अपना she's going to come for an hour, cook and push off. Then you're going to order food from outside, which brings its own problems. The other thing is that you will be also ordering ready to eat meals. Now, all these things contain preservatives, chemicals, and they will not make your kids or your family healthy. This is why I'm saying wise women must know how to cook because they're the first and last line of defense between disease and the family.
And I really like that the theme that you're going with, the life skill theme. So even if you're not cooking, even if you are working, even if you are busy and you have a cook, but use your wisdom to understand what ingredients should be used. So, what kind of oil should be bought for the house? What kind of spices need to be bought and from where? And then you can educate the maid. So, this is where I want to kind of, I'm tending to kind of go with the line, that theme that you're talking about is wise women. So my mother was also a full-time professor in the university, and she was a very good cook. But because we were a big family in India, she obviously didn't have all the time to cook, but we always had a maid in the house, but the maid was learning from my mother. So my mother was still involved in the kitchen. She was making sure, like on the weekends, she was sitting, she was going shopping for the, the masalas, and she would go to these special stores deep in the city. This is where the good masala is bought. So she spent her Sunday at least once a month buying the ingredients, and then she spent her time teaching the maid how to cook, how much of what. So she was very involved in it. So we grew up healthy. And but today, I think what you're saying is very unfortunate, that women are not even involved. If the maid is cooking, then it's the maid who's cooking, and they can buy anything online that comes, because they haven't
Yeah,
learned what ingredients should go into the food.
that is one thing. The other thing is that even if they know, the nature of the maids has changed.
Yeah,
You see, in a small town, you had a maid who was dedicated to your house, who would spend a good 5, 6 hours in the house working for you. She'd be willing to take instructions, she'd be willing to adapt to what you want.
that's right.
So eventually, she produced 95% of what you needed for your family.
Mhm.
Now, the nature of the employee has changed also. The employee is there for a fixed time period, has no loyalty to your desires or your consumption needs. They're just there for the money they're getting, and they have to go to 5 other houses. So it's like you are on a conveyor belt for them basically. They deal with you and carry on. So the maid system is not going to work unless you actively intervene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, active intervention. Okay, you provide the things, you provide the raw material, you even help out in the meal prep, then
yeah,
it'll work. You
yeah,
have a helper,
yeah,
right? But otherwise, if you rely completely on mates and you don't have deep rooted life skills and a deep rooted knowledge of what's good for your family and what's not good for your family,
yeah.
it's not going to work at all.
Right. And what a balanced meal plate looks like.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so interestingly, so today I said, okay, today we are having this conversation, and let me look at how much of the food have I cooked for my meal today, and we've had a huge snowstorm here. So plus we were busy with some other renovation work, so I really did not have time to cook. So yeah, for the last 2 3 days we've been involved with this work, and yesterday my husband ordered kebab, or we went to eat out, and we brought home kebabs. So today's meal was really the kebabs that we ordered, but we don't have maids here. So my contribution to that was the rice that was pre-cooked along with quinoa. And I had made a mustard vegetable, like what's it called? What's mustard called in Hindi? Um,
Um,
sarson ka saag.
Sarson,
Yeah,
yes.
that I had that left over because because I'm the one cooking, so I always have something there, and I also have some frozen vegetables. So I just steamed broccoli, cut up some onions along with it. I always have sprouts, added sprouts to that, and so it became a balanced meal. But
Yes,
22 years ago, it would have been just a meal bought from outside. And, my health is a lot better now than it was when only my husband was cooking. So,
I
uh,
agree.
do you think now, is there anything else that we should be talking about, or is it good time to let people ask questions?
I think I would like to raise one more issue. You see, the corporate world stepped into this gap
Mhm.
knowingly, deliberately,
Yeah,
and with a purpose to earn money.
yeah.
The biggest disaster that has taken place in Indian cooking today is the 2 minute noodle.
Oh,
Okay. And now I specifically raised the issue of the 2 minute noodle because it's made out of flour. For a long time, the American medical associations used to blame cholesterol for cardiac disease.
yeah.
And they blamed things like desi ghee for fatty liver disease.
Mhm.
Now, doctors have suddenly turned around and said, okay, the real enemy is maida, the real enemy is sugar, the real enemy is bread, white bread, the real enemy is refined biscuits,
Preservatives. Yeah,
preservatives. So
yeah.
these are the things that are giving you your fatty liver disease, your liver cirrhosis, your pancreatitis, your what is it called, diabetes,
Yeah.
your cardiac problems, your high blood pressure. The
Mhm.
first thing that is attacked is the liver.
Yeah.
The moment the liver starts malfunctioning, they say everything else happens.
Mhm.
There's a friend of mine, a doctor, his name is Rajiv Agarwal, and he's from Lucknow. And Rajiv Agarwal introduced a fibroscan machine in his clinic. It's a new test that's come up. It's supposed to be more superior than ultrasound,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to detect, measure your liver's performance.
Mhm.
And he was shocked because people whom he least expected were having pre-cirrhotic liver, and if they were not treated immediately, within a year they would go in for liver cirrhosis, and that's irreversible. After that, you get a donor. If you don't get a donor, then you go in for a stage called ascites, where your body cavity fills up with water, and then it's terminal. You're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's becoming a big problem there, and you can blame it directly on concepts of eating like the 2 minute noodle. You don't know how popular that 2 minute noodle is in a country of 1.5 billion people. It's a $1 billion industry. How will you get them to change?
Yeah.
And these girls don't know anything else. The other thing is it's cheap. Now Indians like to save money on eating, and industry caught on to that. So it sells them refined biscuits, it sells them refined noodles, it sells them things that should be banned. Why isn't the government stepping in to ban these items?
Well, the government earns the money, right? Why
Exactly,
isn't government banning Coke and Pepsi and cigarette for the same reason, right?
exactly, exactly,
And
exactly.
I want to make a point. So this year, when I went to Lucknow, I was talking to my PhD advisor, and she mentioned this. She said, when we were young, we would, or yeah, we would be taken to parks to play. But now my granddaughter, she has never seen a park. We always just go out to eat with her. It was so shocking and so sad. And I
That's
said,
very true.
really? So that is an outing for an affluent family in India, is to eat out. That's it. And
That is it. The other thing is the car is a status symbol.
yeah,
A rich person shouldn't be seen walking.
I know
The car should take you right up to the
it is,
shop or the
it's
restaurant.
too much. So the interesting part is that all the successful chefs in the world are males, right? And they're earning a lot of money online or teaching or
That
even,
is true.
right? So why is it that women have suddenly kind of, I see even women who do cook in the house, they're not happy about it most of the time. They're complaining that I had to cook dinner and I had to do this. And it's a very, I don't know if it's a Western thing that has gone to India or is it an Indian? I have no idea because the complaining part happens here too. But I've also seen women over here who are actually quite happy cooking. The Western woman is also quite happy cooking. In fact, some of the women I've met who are home chefs, so they've given up all other careers and they have become home chefs, which we call the maid in India, and we look down on the maid. But the home chef over here earns a lot of money. So,
Yes, that's true. My wife is a chef consultant for a couple of five stars.
hmm,
And she has encountered this problem also because whenever she goes to any place like a Novotel or something to hold a food festival for them, she finds that all the chefs there are males. There's no woman at all.
hmm,
It was only in Lucknow that she managed to get one woman trainee who's from old Lucknow,
okay,
who was a hotel management graduate who was doing her internship there.
okay.
But otherwise, most of the people are men. Women, for some reason, again, it's because of that image that's being created that you're down market if you're cooking.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. There used to be this saying that घर बैठे खाना पका रही हैं वो तो कुछ करती नहीं है, right? There's
Do you
like,
realize the kind of money they are saving? What if you have to go in for a liver transplant because you didn't eat ghar ka khana?
yeah.
Your wife can save you from that. She is making $1 million.
So I'm that wife now who's not
Exactly.
working
You're going to
and
make your
who's
husband a
घर पे बैठ
millionaire.
के खाना पका रही है.
Your husband, if you save your husband from things like liver transplant and if you save your kids from a host of lifestyle diseases, you're actually saving millions of bucks
Mhm.
in medical treatment.
So let's open the floor for questions. I'm sure there are some comments, questions, ideas,
Sure,
it's
sure.
from people here. So Fez, you are here. Why don't you go for a question?
I think it's very interesting what you guys are talking about.
Mhm,
It's a good starting point for us to have start having these conversations.
mhm,
So as far as I'm concerned, I think I've been cooking for the last 10 years or so since I left home, and I truly have a lot of importance of cooking at home. I am not so sure about these days women should cook or men should do a lot of cooking because I've also seen my father do a lot of housework, and I also try and participate as much as I can, especially when it comes to cooking and cleaning. So I think we don't eat out a lot, especially in Toronto. There are a ton of restaurants, but the quality of food is not good. You can feel it
mhm,
while you're eating there. And I think people these days are pretty, even if they are corporate, non-corporate, whatever sector they belong to. I think people are very conscious these days. What I've seen on social media of what they're consuming, what they're putting on the plate, what they're purchasing, having like a balanced diet, all of that stuff. But yeah, I think India there is a big problem of the food industry and ingredients and toxicity, all of that stuff. But I
Let
think it's
me
a bit
ask
different.
you, let me ask you a question. So you're the main cook in the house?
These days, yeah, since we had a daughter,
Oh, okay, that's good that you're helping your wife.
yeah.
So now when you cook, are you making sure that the food is healthy and balanced, or do you know what a balanced meal looks like?
So we just do. I have a fair idea. Um, I think we do a little bit of dal, some vegetables with some meat, like 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and then usually dinner is pretty light. We might have like steamed sweet potato with some avocado or something of that sort. Not always, but whenever we can, we
So
try to
is
do
your
that.
wife generally involved in cooking, or is it?
She is, yes, she is.
And so
Yeah.
you think that's a good thing, right? If your wife,
Yeah, definitely. Like both of us are pretty involved in whatever we are consuming
good.
because we've tried so many restaurants over here and we were thinking the quality of food might be really good, but it's not, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
now our focus is on whatever we are cooking, it's healthy, it's clean. So most of our grocery cart just is just full of vegetables and dairy and nothing is processed in it, thankfully.
So Ajit, what do you think is the solution? Because people want to eat out as well. Like, look at the amount of restaurants we have. I know when my husband is driving past, oh, we need to try that one and we need to try that one. So how do we how do we live?
Well, again, it's you have to strike a balance. You have to strike a balance between home food and restaurant food. There's no harm in going to a restaurant once in a while and trying it out. But becoming dependent on ordering food because you don't have the life skills. You see, here there's an issue. I have seen that a lot of kids who come to Canada from North India, I'm not saying South India, I'm
Okay.
saying North India.
Okay.
Again, that NCR region, Punjab, Delhi, even places like Lucknow and Kanpur, North India basically. The girls, especially today, don't have life skills. There was a case recently where a friend of ours, his daughter came over.
Mm,
She got a PR. She came here to look for a job and to pick up a PR card. And she thought she would spend a month in Canada exploring the place, going to Quebec, going to Montreal, this and that. And she came and stayed in Toronto. Now, we advised them to send her to us, but she didn't stay with us for some reason or whatever. She stayed a good 10, 15 kilometers away near Yorkdale or whatever. And we are in York, North York, next to the university. She got a shock because ordering food in India is easy. If you're in Delhi, you can pick up food for 200 rupees or 300 rupees and you're earning 2 lakhs a month. So it's fine, it's a pittance.
mm,
But when you order food in Toronto, it works out to $40 along with the delivery.
mm,
So it's bloody expensive. So you must know how to cook. Now she didn't know how to cook. She tried her hand. She picked up ready-to-eat rice, ready-to-eat noodles or whatever. Then finally my wife had to cook 15 days food for her, pack it up and give it to her. And this is not the only person who has come with no skills. I have seen young girls and young boys coming from India and struggling. They just don't know how to use their hands and feet.
mhm,
They're physically weak because they've never done any labor in the this thing. So even bringing a bag of groceries from Walmart is an issue to the home because they can't carry it from the bus stand to the house. They have to rest twice on the way. Then cooking it is a disaster because they don't know. So then they are on the mobile phone with their mothers, and the mother, despite the time zone difference, is telling them how to make their lunch or their dinner. कि बेटा अब इसको दाल को भिगो, अब इसमें इतना नमक डालो, अब इसको प्रेशर कुकर में ऐसे करो, और 5 सीटी बाद खोल के देखो कि वो सही हुई कि नहीं गली. Things like that. Things that should have been taught to them 6 months before they came here.
yeah.
So
And
at
I
least have the life skills.
yeah, and I also know that, well, I had a cousin who came here with the same issue. So what he ended up doing is he bought like a bunch of these shan masala packets. And
Yeah.
then he said, oh, there's a recipe on it. And then I buy the thing. But the problem with shan masala is that it is full of preservatives. And it's
Preservatives and
that,
MSG.
sorry?
And MSG.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Monosodium glutamate. It's there.
And so if that's all he's eating, it was really making me worried that what's going to happen. Um, or he would eat.
I think schools have a role to play in this
Yeah.
because schools must tell children
Mm-hmm.
कि if you These are the things that are healthy for you.
Yeah.
There was a time when one of the most prestigious schools of Lucknow used to have a home science class and not economics
Yeah.
in their syllabus.
Mhm.
From pressure being brought about by parents, they did away with the home science class
Mm,
and their girls were taught economics. Now,
mm,
the result is that the girls coming out of that school don't know how to cook because they don't get a chance to cook at home because at home there's a maid
mhm. They
and there's
only know how
a,
to make money.
yeah. Now, the problem is you're making money on one side, yes, but you are going to spend that money on what? What the
Health.
corporates want you to spend on. You will go to a corporate hospital with a lifestyle disease,
Mhm.
is going to cost you a packet.
Yeah, and I predict that very soon in India, the status would become that do you have an ICU room in your house? Because yeah,
Maybe because when
I
the
think we're going that.
coronavirus epidemic took place, remember people in India had actually set up small ICU rooms in their
You
houses.
had the
They
money.
were buying cylinders, oxygen cylinders, they were buying ventilators, the rich ones. They
Yeah.
were doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So I think the focus has become earn more money, and people have forgotten that you cannot eat money. You need
Exactly.
real food, and you cannot just live in buildings without trees because now look at the skyscrapers that have boomed. And where are the farms? Where's food? In fact, there is a big scam between India and Canada about Canada producing all the dal for India. And the dal that Canada is producing is GMO, heavily sprayed with pesticide. Its nutritional content is just 7% compared to 20% that dal in India, when it was grown in India, was having. So it is ridiculous that Canada, with just 4 months of growing season, is growing dal for India. So Shad auntie has something to say. Yes, please,
Yeah,
auntie,
yes.
please go for it. You'll have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
I was listening.
Mhm.
Very interesting talk, Mr. Ajit. Unfortunately, I have not read your book, and I think I somehow, because of the some problem with my computer, I had not turned on the sound, so I don't know what I missed. But
No, we
what
can
I
hear you
get,
now.
if I'm wrong, please forgive me,
No,
or
no,
you can
please.
correct me. Um, yeah. Um, Now you said, I think somewhere that in the 60s and 70s, there were some ads about breastfeeding, etc., was not to be done because the child would get sick, and many children grew up. Is that what you said? Being
Basically, what I said was that
immunocompromised.
corporates advertised that
Yes, yes, that's
breastfeeding
right.
was unhygienic and it was more hygienic to give your child
Yeah.
infant
So,
milk formula.
Yeah.
So, which country are you specifically pointing to? Was it?
It was done in India. It was done in the African nations. Yes, definitely. In African
It is
Oh,
nations, it was
here in
done
you're
very,
America.
also
very blatantly.
we are mainly focused on third world countries.
Exactly, mainly third world countries. And
Okay.
a lot of children died as a result of this because third world countries, the mothers were not educated. They didn't know
Yes,
how
yes.
to treat the water even before putting it into the feeding bottle. So, contaminated water went into the feeding bottle. And some statistics show that almost 40,000 children used to die every day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I can understand that. Yes, that is very true. You are right that yeah, I don't know about the 60s in India because I wasn't there at that time. But I do know that hygiene of that kind never really did exist, and because of the low education of women. But then um, I think that when then you talked about why women should cook and why men not should cook,
No, no, no. I
or
didn't say
did you
men should
say
not
that
cook.
women?
I said that women are being bombarded with the opinion through social media and through corporate media and through even films, documentaries, TVs, shows, everything, that a woman who's intelligent should not be cooking. It's not a very upmarket thing to do. So, wise women should not cook. That's the image that's created. If you're a young urban professional, if you're intelligent, you're upmarket, you don't need to know how to cook.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
always
yeah,
buy
that's
TV dinner, you can always buy Maggie noodles, you can always, do something else. Basically, the idea is let the corporate world provide a solution to your problems. You want food? Okay, we've got your TV dinner, we've got your ready-to-eat meal, we've got a restaurant chain for you. Pick up your burger from there, pick up your pizza from there, pick up your biryani from there. What's the big deal? Why must you? You're such an important woman. You're going to be a CEO of a company one day. Why must you bother to do something so lowly, so down market as cooking? And after all, cooking means that you are a slave of some man. I mean, your husband, your father-in-law, your son, you're doing their slavery. You should emancipate yourself. These are the messages that are being given to women.
Yeah.
The message should be that why can't everybody in the house get into the kitchen and make a meal? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Let the kids know how to cut the salad. Let the man cut the onions. Let somebody marinate the chicken. Then you make the meal. Yeah, let the woman
Everyone
supervise
should
making the
know.
meal, but she should know how to do it at
Everyone
least.
should know.
The
In fact, I
very
think she,
idea, you're depriving her of the knowledge by telling her, hey, this knowledge is not meant for you. It's down market. Hey, leave it to us, yeah. We are the marketing guys, we are the corporates. We are going to give you everything on your doorstep, madam. You are our most important customer and you're a VIP. We are going to give you VIP treatment for everything.
yeah, because
yeah,
Now,
you're right.
in the process, you're buying ill health.
no, you're right.
So where did this idea did the Indian women get from? From the West, because of the emancipation movement, which was very strong during the 60s and the 70s.
Exactly. You don't
Well,
have people
yeah.
cooking in the West now. It's now that
Well, I
it's being
don't know whether they're
revived.
cooking or not, but surely at that time, this was the exactly the thought that they had, and this was carried on to our Indian women.
Especially
Now,
the
what,
educated Indian women.
huh?
Especially the educated Indian women.
And
Exactly.
especially the educated West Indian
Indian.
women.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what somewhere, Sarah, you said that, my husband doesn't know this and he was cooking in that oil, and, my mom was cooking in this and I was cooking in this. The thing is that, as Ajit says, that if men are trained to, learn about food, then
Yeah,
they would. You see,
yeah.
in the barbaric times or even before that, there was no fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't cook.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the fire came into existence, we began to cook. But then, because the men were hunting, the women were supposed to be home and cooking. And that is where the tradition of women cooking actually must have started. But the point is that if we eat uncooked food and we don't know how to even make a cup of tea, then we are really not living in a modern age. Now, my point is that both men and women should be taught about food, about, what is good, what is bad, what is cholesterol and what is not cholesterol, what is vegetable. So
Yeah,
that way you can't say that, my husband is going to cook and he doesn't know what he's cooking. I mean, I'm talking about that.
yeah,
That both men and women can intelligently learn, but if you keep your roles divided and say that the men will be doing this and women will be doing this, then we cannot come to a proper solution of the problem. That's what I was trying to
yeah. No,
say.
no,
And
I think we are on the same page. I think Ajit is also saying the same thing, that everybody
yeah,
needs
yeah,
involved. However, the point that I was making and what I got from the article, and I was putting together a whole lot of other things with women being women, especially as mothers, you have a different way of thinking as a woman. And especially when you have children, you are way more intuitive because you're not doing all the things that men are involved in with outside work. We still have those roles because men have more muscles. So they, like today's shoveling, right? So my husband was out shoveling. So I'm cooking and I'm happy to do that. So men, men being men, the way they think mostly, their thought about cooking food, uh, most of the men will not think about cooking the healthiest food, even if they've learned it. My husband has learned everything from me, directly from me. He has learned about what is a balanced meal. But if I leave the house entirely to him to cook, I know what's going to get cooked is a lot of oil will go into it. A lot of packaged masalas will make it to the house. There will be some kind of food ordered. I have experienced that. I've experimented with it because then for him it becomes a taste issue. It's the taste. It's he's being a man, and maybe there are some men who do much better in terms of balancing meals, but most of the men, especially our Indian diaspora, I think for them, let's do something that's quick and have a meal that will fill everyone's tummy, and we'll be happy with the taste. But I know as a woman and as a mother, even if sometimes I compromise on the taste, I'll make sure the meal is balanced, and I'll make sure that my son is going to learn that why this meal is better than ordering from outside. I think that's the
No,
point.
but sorry, two things I don't agree with. One thing is that human beings don't have any intuitions or instincts to be this thing. You're saying that, you are the mother and therefore you care and the father doesn't really care, or, something like that. That's, I will not agree with that at all, because human beings don't have instincts. We always just learn. We learn. So you learned, you saw your mom taking care of kids. We learn from different situations. So there, I cannot agree with you. But yes, and to say that, because he knows all the rules and he will not follow them because of the taste, again, I will say that equally women will do the same thing. Unless you are overly cautious and extremely conscious that you should do this.
It's
And then to say that the Indian diaspora, the men, whatever you said, no, the Indian diaspora men do not want to enter the kitchen because they think it's infra dig. It's a job that is done by the women. I mean, that is the Indian diaspora. It is changing. I don't say
well,
that
we
it
have
has not
Faiz
changed.
over here who just told us that he's cooking. And my husband is also in. So I
Yeah, yeah, but your
think
your husband is not Indian, and these people who are here have been here for a long time. And we know that even when we hear, I have a friend who, he's a male friend, and I asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "I homestead while my wife brings the earning." And when I told this to some of my Indian friends in India, they were shocked. They said, "How can this Besharam say that he is sitting at home sitting while he is sponging on his wife?" So, the cultures are different, and I don't think that, it's a fair comparison, because we have still been brought up. I mean, there wouldn't be so many homes in India. But if you go to the villages, you will find that this kind of a distinction is not there. So what I think, I mean, personally, that has happened really is that some of us Indians have tried to become very westernized and think that, we can do this and we can't do this, and the man will do this and man will not. But the general Indian population, I think some study might be there which would tell us all about it. What basically I'm trying to say is that if men and women as children are brought up to
Mhm.
think that it's not the sole job of a woman to cook or the sole job of a man to earn, that would be the difference. I remember that in the smaller classes, the teachers, in Lady Fatima school, they gave a test to the child. And I think one of my children wrote, they said, who cooks? So she said, my dad cooks. And she marked it wrong. And then I went and I talked to her. She said, she's saying that her father cooks. I said, what's wrong with that? So you see, that is where the schools have to change. And I think somebody talked about, this teaching classes, what they call home economics, that was replaced by economics because the children didn't want it. So in school, yes, the syllabus have to change. Even your toys have to change. If you look at the toys that are being sold, they're mainly for men, boys, and girls. There are no toys which are for both. If you even Lego, you have, when they advertise, they put a woman with a kitchen, a girl in a kitchen, and the boy with a mechano set or something like that. So yeah, the problem exists, and I do agree totally that it is the economy that drives our thoughts and the propaganda that they make on the advertising and to make money. Yeah, there I agree, totally agree with you.
But there's another point that Sarah raised, and she raised the issue of taste. Now, taste is being aggressively marketed. That's another thing. The latest gadget, I don't know whether you've seen that, Sarah, on social media. The latest gadget that is being advertised is a gadget in the kitchen which actually tells you how to make restaurant ka khana at home.
Oh, wow.
It's like a pressure cooker. It's got a voice in it, एंड इट विल टेल यू कि अब आप इसमें छोले डालिए, अब आप इसमें पानी डालिए, अब आप इतना नमक डालिए, अब इतना मसाला डालिए, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द day you will get a dish like a shahi paneer or a shahi chola or whatever. There'll be all the things that you should not be eating at home will be there. The cream, the oils, the butter, the whatever. Now, this again is another way to enter the kitchen and promote bad health.
Yeah.
Okay. Because again, healthy cooking is not there. The gadget will not give you nutrition, it will give you
Yes.
bad health. And when we talk about food, we should be talking about nutrition. What is happening is that when you move towards taste, or you move towards noodles, or you move towards fast food, or TV dinners, or restaurant food, or these kind of gadgets that help you make food, again, you lose out your life skills, you become dependent on the gadgets, and you bring in ill health through the back door, and you bring in lifestyle diseases. That's where a woman who knows healthy cooking and can impart that knowledge to her husband and to her children.
Yeah.
Please listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A wise woman who knows healthy cooking and can impart that knowledge to her husband and to her children, to her entire family, will be the first and last line of defense against bad health.
I agree with that. I so agree. In fact, recently, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wrote somewhere that the who is what stands between a child and uh, bad health, and he said it's the mom. So no one is disagreeing with the fact that men need to cook. I've taught my son. He's 20 years old. He's 100%, he cooks better than me. And I don't want him to marry because, oh, okay, who's going to give him food? So Adnan raised his hand. Go, Adnan. What's your question or comment? Yeah.
Hey, I love our subject. As far as cooking, by the way, I'm the husband. Of course, some people know me as the husband of Sarah. I'm
Yes.
Sarah's husband. I taught Sarah how to cook, and I never used masalas from Shan and Ahmed's and all those things, MDH. We never use that. I use normal, jeera and dhania powder and all that type of stuff, and
What's your
use all of that type. My comment is I want to address the fact that ladies are not chefs. And my understanding is the chef office, which is the kitchen in a restaurant, they are very brutal. My understanding is even men, unless you're really tough, cannot survive in a kitchen. And so most women just don't want to because the male chefs, I don't know what it is. They are apparently, I mean, you know this guy, that British guy who cooks and swears all the time, Hell's Kitchen. Forget his name, Oliver or something.
Not Oliver, the other one.
Gordon
The-
Ramsay?
yeah,
Ramsey.
yeah, Ramsey, that's the guy.
Ramsey.
He that's not abnormal. It's not a show. That's how they talk all the time. And I don't know why. And most women don't like it. Most men don't like that type of place. In corporate America, if you start talking like that, you usually would not survive as a leader. But a top chef is expected to do things like that. And with concerning taste, I don't think taste is such a bad thing. Taste without taste, things don't happen. You can, people don't like kale, don't like quinoa. By the way, the rice and kale we had today, I was the one who was the author of that one. But people, if you show them how to enjoy kale with the proper seasoning, which includes salt and pepper and things like that, they come around to actually saying, "Hey, this is not so bad." So taste has to be there. If it's not tasty, not people are not going to eat it. But if it's tasty, people will eat cardboard, as we know.
Yeah, so we need to teach how to bring the taste and keep the health as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
That's
Nothing,
it.
Tara, why
nothing,
do you put
nothing like a tasty
wise
salad.
women?
Yeah.
What?
Nothing like a tasty salad. I agree with you, Ajit.
That's right.
And it's the way it is. I mean, men should cook. The families should cook together. I don't agree with I'm the man, so I get to cook, or it's not I'm the man, so it's not my job, or the woman, it's beneath her dignity to cook. Like Sarah has been doing for a long time with our son. The family is cooking together, and then when they do go off, like you were saying, the Indians come here, the little boys and girls who come here to study and have no idea how to cook, they put on a lot of weight. I always call it the immigrant weight of 20 kilos. Those 20 kilos never go away, and that's because all they're eating is those 2 minute noodles. Oh yeah, 2 minute noodles. I was listening to you about that. The reason it's addictive is because they put MSG in it.
Mhm.
And
MSG is there,
Boy,
but
is it
apart from
addictive?
MSG, the fact that it's made out of maida.
yeah,
Maida
maida
is
is there, but
dangerous.
it's the
It's
MSG
very
that you
dangerous.
want to come back to it all the time. It's the MSG that brings you back. Oh, I gotta have that hit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
banned in India.
And they get away with it because MSG is naturally found in tomato and cheese to a certain extent. But that is not so dangerous for you. But the thing is, when you artificially add it to
Exactly.
something like maida, it's like a bomb. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
that
cocaine.
bomb that goes off inside your liver, and then it goes off inside your kidney, and then one day you end up on dialysis.
Well,
Yep.
it's
So the choice
addictive,
is
so
yours.
it lights up the brain as well.
Yeah.
And I think to wrap up this whole conversation, and
Oh,
I'll
thank you.
wrap it up, is I think where what we wanted to bring to focus was the fact that it's a losing life skill that we need to save, not just for women, but for everybody. But the focus on women is important because it's not good to tell a woman that you are a nobody if you're cooking, which is what
Exactly.
is happening right now. Nobody is saying that a man who's cooking is not wise. In fact, it's highlighted. If a
Exactly.
if a man is in the kitchen and he's also a CEO, oh goodness, there will be a whole news article on that. Wow, look at
Exactly.
him. Here
He
he is in
cooks.
the kitchen. Yeah, he
He's
cooks.
so intelligent. He's so wise. He cooks.
Exactly.
Oh, she cooks. She's stupid.
Yeah, and oh, she also has to cook, poor thing. So that has to change. That, oh,
Exactly.
she's so busy, she is a CEO, but at the end of the day, she also has to cook. Or why should she? So that has to change, and people need to be made aware that their health is really on the line because bad health makes for good money,
Exactly.
right?
Because corporates will have a solution for everything. They will have a nice corporate hospital for you also if you fall ill eating after eating their TV dinners.
So, Ajit,
Mock eats.
how would you wrap it up for today? We have
I would say that we should impart life skills to our children, whether
Mhm.
they're boys or girls. We should impart these life skills to their children, and we should tell them why it's important. Also, we should link it to the fact that people can get lifestyle diseases if they don't eat the right kind of food.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky as a person that I went to Rajiv Agarwal in time. Otherwise, probably we would be discussing my obituary today because I was in very bad
You were
shape.
eating out a lot.
Eating out, I loved eating out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will not name my friends, but my friends are the top restaurant owners of and super rich guys.
And you
All
cannot
Bata.
make money if you are running a restaurant with the best oils and not reusing the heated
It's
oil.
out of control,
Yeah.
Sarah. It's out of control. The owner can't control it because there's a battery of cooks. He's feeding something like 2,000 people a day
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Aminabad. There's another guy in Chowk who's feeding in Nakhas, in Akbari Gate, who's feeding 400 people in the evening. So things are out of control.
Yeah, yeah. But once in a while, I think it's good. You want to go enjoy, but there is a way to enjoy that is go on an empty stomach, like don't
Yeah,
eat something all day. And then after that, then make sure you drink lemon water, clean yourself out, and then give yourself a break of good 2, 3 months.
yeah,
Before
exactly.
you go for
Ex-
another eating out
Yeah.
bonanza.
I mean, and there should be education for this, you know. I mean, kids should be taught in school what's good for their health and what's not good for their health.
So
School canteens can also do a good job.
yeah. So, Auntie's saying something. Uh, what's the comment? How long can we cook in used oil? I would say don't recook in used oil. That just is not good.
Not at
Like
all.
in the morning, I fry something, and then the evening, I want to fry, or the next day. Turns bad right away.
It was rancid
I,
already.
I,
How
huh?
about Anuradha? You talk about Anuradha is Ajit's wife, I think, and she's a chef. So Anuradha, you want to give us
Wow.
tips?
As
Yeah,
she
I
is,
just actually we've been talking about people of our age group. Let's talk about the young because of globalization, we have lakhs of students
Mm,
pouring in from India and all over the world to Canada and to other, US and other countries.
yeah.
And most of these are just coming after class 12 or graduation, and they're very young and they
Mhm.
hardly know anything how to cook and then they're dependent on these prepay, these meal plans from the university, which
Yeah.
enough, and they really don't know how to cook, or if they cook anything, they're just cooking pasta. And since we have a few students staying in our at our place, because my son has this place next to York University with several students coming from India and other countries as well. So
Mhm.
I see mostly it's not a thing of a gender, it's I see the boys are cooking more. We had a Chinese boy who used to cook, separate meals for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and it was all healthy. It was a
Mm,
combination of, even though it was a one pot meal, it had meat, it had vegetables, and it had some noodles,
mm,
and so it was a very balanced meal,
mm.
each meal.
Yeah.
Whereas I saw the girls coming from India, mostly they didn't know how to cook at all. They were really, mostly in tears when they had to eat food, or they would go hungry, or they just boil an egg or two eggs and go. And they were losing weight, and then they hired a dietitian and, had hair fall. So it's to do with these people, it's really affecting their health. And finally, when after a period of 6 months or 8 months or even a year, when the health really deteriorates and they have a weight loss, and they have other dietary concerns, then they wake up to it, and then they start sort of trying to cook. And I try to help them a lot, and whatever their efforts are, and I feel happy when they start cooking and making their own meals, which I try to guide them, and because I don't be too overbearing on them that you eat this. Whatever they're eating, I just help them and some suggestion. But mostly I feel because parents in India have pampered children because they have only one, mostly, or maybe some parents have two. So the children grow up very entitled.
Yeah.
And their entitlement is one of the entitlements is that they get everything at the drop of a hat. They can just dial a meal and parents don't object to it. And they have their own fantasies regarding eating. They want to eat only certain things. They want to eat sushi, so they eat sushi only. They won't eat home cooked meals. They won't have vegetables, which we have, which we consider healthy, and they've never had, and they don't want to have it or they don't want to try it. That's because they're so entitled. Whereas when we were kids, whatever was made, we had to eat it, because I mean, there was no choice. We had to eat what was made at home. And so I guess it's the upbringing, the training, and especially when you're sending your children. I'm talking from a different perspective because we're talking about the 60s, and I'm talking about the children who've been born in this millennium, millennium children, or even the ones who've been born in the 90s. So I trained my son. He was in India when he was doing a job in Delhi. He studied in Lucknow and was doing a job in Delhi, and I had trained him with all the dishes which he used to like to eat, mostly meats and chicken, etc. And he could cook rice and a few other vegetables. So he didn't have any issue when he came here to Canada. He could cook everything, and he had even though when he was busy, he used to order a meal or get something from outside or something. But as I see today, Indian girls, especially, they just don't know how to cook. And as Ajit had also stated about this girl, a friend of ours whose daughter had come for a period of a month, but she just went back in 15 days, because she couldn't get the food, and she decided she had a PR. I mean, PR is supposed to be one big thing, for a child coming from India to get a PR, direct PR. She had a PR. She just came, landed, and because of the food, she didn't stay on here because she said, I can't get food and I don't know how to cook. So first I have to learn how to cook rice, and I have to learn how to cook dal at least. So because she couldn't eat food from outside, she was a vegetarian. That's another problem for Indians too. She would look at each biscuit packet. If I offered her a biscuit, she would look at it, and then if it was written there could be some egg, could be an egg, so she would need that. And so I made a pile. She was living in an Airbnb. So I made a pile of parathas, and I made some alus, and I made some paneer, and I packed it for her. And she said, I was using it little by little, kept it in the freezer and all that, because she ordered food from Uber, and she said, I got panili dal and some chawal and roti. It was like leather. So one of the reasons why she left and went back to her country despite getting the PR was the food. Had she known, or had her mother trained her, or had she been open to that sort of thing, she could have stayed here. She was an intelligent girl. I think she had done her maths from London School of Economics. She was a topper from Stephens, and she would have done really well out here. But unfortunately, she had to go back to India because of not knowing how to cook a meal. And you need to eat 3 times a day. So
Anna, the
I'm just talking
question,
about the present generation.
so the question was, what should we do with oil? So one, auntie, I would say don't fry so many things. If you fried something in the day, then don't do it for another month. But what would you advise, Anuradha, about that fried oil? Throw it away?
Uh, yeah, don't fry like what are you intending to fry? What
No,
dishes are you?
like, well, I mean, I generally don't fry, but sometimes, now I have to pre-cook some things and keep them, like
So you know what
pakoras and.
happens is that if you're making a vegetable. Oh, pakoras. Pakoras I never make, like I never make. Absolutely, it's a no, no, no. And if you're making a vegetable, like say, which is to be fried, like potato, like, you want to fry the potato. Just nowadays, the
Mm.
pans are so efficient that you just put 2 tablespoons of oil, and you can fry the potatoes in that. And after that, you can use it to make the gravy. but don't store it and reuse it. Don't fill up the pan with a lot of oil and then reuse it. That's a total no-no. I wouldn't advise anyone to use reused oil.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
but this is what I wanted to know, that if, but once in a while you have to fry and you can't throw away. But the thing
No,
is that could
Because
you
you
reuse it
get
the
these.
same day or in 2 days?
no.
No, not at all.
Oh,
It has the same composition whether you keep it for a day or 2 days or just use it. You use it, you just take 2 tablespoons to fry, and you can do it in these non good, very nice pans which you have nowadays.
yes,
They you don't really require a whole kadhai full of oil to fry things. You
No,
can
you
just
don't. But sometimes, I mean, sometimes you accidentally put more and then, but the thing is
okay
that
if it's
what
once in 2 3
happens to
months.
the oil? That's what I want to know.
no, you
What
do
happens
not
to the
reuse.
oil once it's cooked
Don't
and
reuse it.
No,
reused?
Don't
not
reuse it.
I just wanted to add one thing here.
yeah.
This olive oil is supposed to be very healthy for you, but if you heat olive oil, it becomes unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
So you
Yes,
have to be
that's
very
what I'm
careful
told.
Mm-hmm. Ghee
because
is
it changes.
better. You can
See,
put high heat to ghee and coconut oil, but
ever
Yes,
ever
ghee
since
is
ever
supposed to be good
since
for you.
we both did our fibro scan in Lucknow, as Ajit was mentioning. So we were told by a doctor. He said that at least 50% of your diet should be salads. So before having a meal, we have a lot of salad. So a plate full of salad, which may be a apple, mango, carrots, cucumber. All the fruits, vegetables,
onion,
kacha.
onion.
Onions are too strong here. It's like if I have it, you can put onion. But a lot of people don't like onion, so like we don't really use onion in salads here. There's such a lot of lovely fruits, so we can put that and cucumber, carrots, and so many other
Oh,
things.
romaine lettuce,
So those,
right?
yeah, lettuce as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As
Kale. You
colorful
can
as you
just
can make it.
you can just steam kale. You can steam broccoli. I steam all my vegetables because I follow Ayurveda constitution, and for my constitution, eating
Yeah,
raw doesn't sit
yeah.
very well. But
Okay, yeah, then
I
steam. Yeah,
steam everything and I eat it, and
okay.
it's big
Yeah.
part of my meal.
Yeah, so you don't have to use oil actually, sometimes there are days when I don't use oil.
Yeah.
There's this matar, the pila matar, the chole. You can just put a little bit of masala and salt and boil it and have it. It's as good as and it tastes so good.
Yeah.
So your oil consumption has to be minimized.
I'm so
And
happy
frying
about
pakoras
it.
or samosas should be a once in 2 3 month event, or
Thank you. Well,
eating it
right
in.
now, Ramzan is going to start, and my husband eats 2 samosas every day. He fasts and 3 pakoras,
Oh my God.
and it makes
Oh my
me
God.
so angry and also so worried. But
No, so
that's the
that's
man. That's the man we have.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, but
that's why I
you
have to
can't
make
have someone.
pakoras.
No, no. So you have to influence him, and maybe when you go back to Lucknow, or if you have a fibro scan out here, get his fibro scan done. So that'll show the true picture. And once the doctor tells you, then there is no going back to it, going back to all this unhealthy food. So we've changed our diet pattern a lot after doing those. So that's where the tests, medical tests come in. Once you do it and you know that you're going to have something of that sort, if you don't check it at the right stage, then as you lost so much weight and you're feeling healthier, so I'm sure he can look into that factor and see how you have changed, how you have become more healthy and energetic, etc. So maybe you can do something to
A
influence
work
him
in
on that.
progress. I think he's it's night and day from 22 years ago. But
Hmm.
I think another point I wanted to mention was air fryers. If you can get a good air fryer, you can
Yeah,
fry things with very little oil, and you can actually use coconut oil or ghee instead of
yeah,
frying
correct,
the,
correct. Yeah.
especially those refined oils, they are a killer. So, the
Mm.
canola oil or now,
Oh no, canola smells so bad if you're going to any of these
yeah,
joints where which they have these fries and all that, and I get a nausea after getting the smell of the
yeah, the Five
fries.
Guys and McDonald's, yeah. And also,
Yeah,
in restaurants, they're using the cheapest oil,
cheapest
like
oil, true.
Crisco. Crisco.
And they're reusing it because
Oh, yeah.
they have these deep fryers. Back home in India also, before we became so health conscious, we also had bought this deep fryer. It
Mhm.
produces excellent results. You get a crispy fried chicken and all that. But the 3 to 5 liter oil that is wasted,
Yeah.
they say you can filter it and use. Then again, it becomes unhealthy. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what they're doing in McDonald's to have the fries and the burgers, the patties, which are being fried in
Every
it. And
restaurant,
yeah,
and
yeah,
rather every single restaurant, unless it is a very, very boutique restaurant, which
yeah,
usually does not last for long. It's because
yeah.
if they're using healthy ingredients, then they have to
Mm.
raise their price. And
Price. True.
when people compare, oh, well, I can get the same pakora over there for,
Absolutely. Yeah,
50
yeah.
cents, and why am I
Mm.
having to pay
Mm.
$1?
And
So,
you know what happened while I was doing my food festival in Novotel, the head chef out there who was, managing the whole thing. So he said, so we were eating their food for 15 days. I was doing my festival. So 15 days we were staying there and had food. We didn't have one bit of acidity or anything. Then one of our friends came in between and he took us to Marriott, and we couldn't eat the food. It was horrible, and we were burping, and we were having acidity just trying to push down the food. So I told him that the fare was the same, in the buffet. So he said, ma'am, out there they reuse the oil, the fried oil, the oil they use to fry things. The next day or the in the evening they'll use it to make the curry. So it goes into the curry, and how
Yeah.
unhealthy. And that's the reason why. And he says, that's one thing I make sure, that I just throw that oil.
yeah.
So his food was excellent. and and he's of course grown, and he's now in Bangkok, and he's the head chef there. So I said that if you maintain your
I think there
quality.
was a internet connection issue. Can you hear me, Sarah?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we can hear you.
Can
Yeah.
you
yeah,
did you
so
hear
like,
Yeah, we
now?
can all hear each other.
you do have to spend a little bit extra money to eat healthy food.
Yeah.
That is one
Well,
thing.
don't eat like a king every day.
Yeah.
The simple
Mm.
meals on a 90% basis is
Absolutely.
how
Absolutely.
we can keep our health. And I think the trend right now is what the Lucknow Nawabs had, that they
Mm.
want to eat 3 times a day only Shahi food. Uh,
No, no.
and that has to change, like
That has
look
to.
at the pictures of the Lucknow Nawabs. Do we want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be like
Oh,
that, like
no,
big
no.
pot belly? But that's
No.
what's happening. People want to eat only for taste, and
Mm.
they want gourmet food 3 times a day. So
Exactly.
No,
that,
another thing which I wanted to point is that, cooking food at home brings the family together.
yeah,
You and it sort of it keeps the family together. Health is of course one of the main issues, but apart from that, it keeps the family together. And when you eat a meal together which is cooked at home, the satisfaction that you get, and of course a mother gets too much satisfaction when the children eat home cooked meals, and they have that glint and glow on their eyes, and you get the satisfaction that, oh, they've loved that food.
yeah,
So that feeling you can only get if you have cooked the meal for them. And it doesn't come, because everybody, if there are three people and each one orders their choice of food, so how does it bring the family together? How That's what has been binding an Indian family together. The home cooked food by the mother. Let's not make it that why should the father not cook or whatever. Like anybody can cook, but it's the role of a mother which has been the traditional role. Of course, you can supplement it by husband cooking at times as well. So it just creates a family bond. We want that bond of the family to stay intact Indians have always traditionally had a very tight bond of the family. We don't want our families to be, split and the 16-year-old moving out, because what does he come back home to?
Mhm.
Mom not cooking, she's in the office, not, so everybody's just the family disintegrates. So
And the
I think,
memories that you create, because
yeah,
like I know though I've learned how to cook, but it really made me feel so nice and warm. Once my son, when he was little, uh,
yeah,
he said, it was funny, he said, I'm never going to leave your house. He was like 7 years old.
yeah, exactly. So
Why?
that's
Yeah,
what, it keeps the family together. This home cooked meal keeps the family together.
yeah,
And there is a dire need of integrating the family, keeping the family integrated.
very
At
important.
least we Indians can try to do that by, this is one of the means, because money cannot integrate a family. There are a lot of people with a lot of money and the families all split. So let's keep food as one of the factors, home cooked meal, which is going to keep the family together
That's
and
important
keep.
because when I was coming from Canada to India, even before I landed here, I don't know, this thing came to my mind and I said, what is India about? And I said, food, friends, and family together at the
Family.
table.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and that so Adnan wants to say something. Go for it, Adnan.
Yeah, I just want to say that it's important to learn how all these good things, and our son has learned it so well that he actually used to enjoy going to McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. So with Tara was always we went to Chick-fil-A here and bought one, and it used to be a favorite one. And it's like, man, what's happened is in the last 2 3 years, he's been Sarah's got him to be cooking dinner and lunch and stuff like that for himself for at least 5 6 years. So he does that on his own. But the last 2 3 years, he's really told mom, "Get out of the kitchen. I'm just going to cook my own food my way." And he's cooking, just using the natural foods at home, the whole foods at home, and that gives a taste that then when you get something from the store, the restaurants and stuff like that, it's not the same, and you don't get that same buzz. In fact, it's a put off because now your
That's
taste buds
true.
have changed. And so now he just cooks on his own. He doesn't, and he would go for training to Bromo from Ottawa to Bromo, and he would bring his meals, 3 meals a day with him,
Or
and
even
cooked
to
at home.
college. So he
Yeah,
doesn't buy anything in college.
exactly.
He
And now he's in
takes for the
Spain.
full day. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone to Spain. He knows how to cook. So he just went to the stores there, bought all the ingredients, and he's cooking. Now there's an issue about what don't they like? They don't like ginger. The three friends
Other
that are there,
boys.
they don't like ginger. There are three boys there. And so he's like, I'm dying without having ginger. So one day the other boys were out. He cooked his food with ginger. And he said, oh, now I feel good. But
That's
it's
why they have
training.
this saying in Lucknow, bandar kya jane adrak ka swad.
And
Exactly.
he loves Lucknow food. He loves Indian food. He thinks it's amazing.
Well,
And
he
he
wanted
just goes
to.
crazy.
Yeah, so the point I was saying that when he was little, he said, I'm never going to leave your home. And I said, why? He said, oh, because, mom, who's going to cook all the chapatis? And I said, well, yeah, you learn. He says, well, I said, one day you're going to get married and you move out. And he says, no, my wife will also come here and we're all going to eat the chapatis that you cook. Listen, you need to learn how to cook chapati. So he makes better chapatis than I can ever make.
It's
So yeah,
amazing.
to the point that I think we have arrived at some important points that we are definitely not saying that only a woman should cook, but we are saying a woman must cook, and the man should also learn how to cook. And Ajit, what else would you like to say before we say goodbye?
Well, I would say eat healthy and be happy. And the thing is that, again, I'm reiterating, I mean, just restating what I said,
Yeah.
that a wise woman, please give her that position in society.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the fact that she is doing something very constructive for the family by cooking. Don't demean that labor. Don't look down upon it.
Yeah.
Because the moment you look down upon it, it's a disincentive for that woman.
cooking means you have to be intelligent. You cannot cook food.
No, she will impart those skills to her husband too, and to her son too, and to her daughter too. So it carries on.
It's a
That's very
creative
important.
activity. Yeah. Yeah.
That's very
All
important.
right. Anyone else? Anything else to say before we close? Faiz, you have something to say?
I just wanted to share
Yeah.
something with all of you, but
Sure.
it's a lit offbeat. So
Mm.
since you're on the topic of food, I wanted to share something about air.
Mhm.
I recently found this new feature on Google Maps, and even actually today, so I'm gonna just share
Let,
my screen and
let
show it to you.
yeah, you can share it. Yeah.
It's kind of shocking for me for what I saw today. Let me just open Google Maps. So if you just over Quebec, there's an option. Click on it and go to air quality.
Okay.
So the moment you click on it, it shows you the air quality of several countries.
Okay.
So here in North America, it is pretty safe. You can see it's somewhere between 1 and 3.
Mhm.
And then if you just go to India and zoom into New Delhi, you will be shocked to see it's all red and black, which is
Yeah.
10 plus on the scale of 1 to 10.
Uh-huh.
It's deadly over there.
Yeah.
So I saw this feature today. It's really interesting. Even Lucknow is 10 plus,
Yeah.
which is kind of shocking for me to see the quality of air that these people are living in.
Mhm.
It's the worst.
Do you know where all this bad air ends up eventually when you're breathing it in?
In your
It ends up
lungs.
inside your liver. And
Yeah.
if your
I
liver
know.
is already compromised with bad food from restaurants and from eating out, then I mean, it's a double whammy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just lining
Yeah.
up the Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for sharing, and thanks so much everybody for talking
No,
and
no.
and
Thank you so
hopefully
much,
we
Sarah,
can,
that you took the initiative to start
well,
this.
it's an issue.
Thank you very much, Ajit and Mrs. Ajit.
Yeah.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
Well,
I think
Thank you
we
so
should
much.
open a restaurant of healthy food.
We just it would be a not for profit, I think.
Yeah,
No,
it'll
no,
be a
no. I
non-profit.
don't think. I think if you make people conscious and advertise the way they do
No,
other
but
food.
there are dual standards. You see, there are dual standards here. Like, for example, McDonald's sells salads in America. McDonald's does not sell salad in India,
Mm,
only sells burgers.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go to McDonald's at all, and even
And Subway, for example,
oh,
Subway is, I think Subway is carrying on in Canada because of the Gujarati community, because they're vegetarians. They want bread and they want vegetables inside that bread. So those poor fellows are actually keeping Subway alive.
pav bhaji.
If there were no Gujaratis, there'd probably be no Subway in Canada. It would wind up.
So I got to run, but I think we need to meet up at Rahim's Nahari in Lucknow. Okay, we'll all see
Oh,
you
take
there.
care. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And will you come to my health food restaurant?
of
Yes,
course,
Oh,
of course,
if you're
definitely.
not
100%,
using
100%.
refried oil.
No, I can cook in water.
Yeah, see, I taught you. So Ashada
You
aunty is
didn't
my
teach
client too. So I do coach
You didn't
people
teach me to
for.
cook in water.
I told you about water cooking, everything in bone broth or things. Anyways, if you know it without me, then that's
No,
fine.
not that kind of water. I'm saying like, just put some water and put some all your whatever
Yeah,
you want to put the
ingredients.
ingredients
Yeah,
and then cook your aloo or vegetable. It
yeah.
really
I
turns
think
out
I
good.
did. I think I did teach that to you. Maybe you
You
forgot.
did teach me. Well, maybe
Yes.
it is so much in my subconscious
Yes.
that I think I thought
Yeah,
about
no,
it.
it is it. I have a few recipes on my YouTube channel that are just cooked in water, and
Yeah, so just let's cook in water.
hmm. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming,
Okay,
and
Thank
thank
I
you.
think
you.
we
Thank
should
you
have
for
another
Thank
having
you.
one.
us.
Thank
And very interesting. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you.
Anuradha.
Okay,
Bye-bye. Take
bye.
care.
Good
Thanks,
night.
thanks, Ajit. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Good
Yeah,
night.
good night.